Previously on European LCS.
Gambit Gaming destroy Giants Gaming's Nexus. GG, GG.
I feel good to break that losing streak, and now we're looking forward to actually get a huge win.
Elements gave up the inhibitor from poor positioning. They gave up Baron. Honestly, it looks like they've given up this game.
I didn't expect Elements to be on a slump.
H2K have got the coordination, the control, and they are arresting Elements on the map.
Bullet is just too slow, and just like that, a spear, a shot, an ace in the hole. Yeah!
Welcome back to Week 4 of the European League Championship Series Spring Split. We're broadcasting to you live from Berlin, Germany. And just moments ago, everything got on their way here. Fans are rolling in, about to look for their seats for the very first game. Rocket looking to bounce back from their defeat yesterday, and they seem to be in very good spirits. And of course, their opponents in the first game of the day, H2K, running out the stage, getting ready to get set up and continue that flow after beating Elements, of course, on the first day yesterday. I'm EpicSkillshot supporter here with Trevor Quickshot Henry, and joining us is our support on the desk this week, Mitch Krepo Voorspoels. Good to have you guys here again.
It's good to be back.
Yep, let's pick up right where we left off yesterday with a look at the standings. Still in first place after a strong showing against the Wolves is SK Gaming with 7 wins and no losses. Fnatic is safely in the number 2 spot at 6-1, and Unicorns of Love are sharing 3rd place at the moment with Elements. The rest of the table is pretty locked up as teams will start to worry about potential relegation positioning in the coming weeks. Now, with the table in mind, let's talk about some of yesterday's action as we saw it there. H2K coming out the gate strong versus Elements. Good pick and ban phase and flawless in-game decision making.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think if you look at H2K, they punished a mistake, on Nif, getting that first blood with Kasing back in the roster. But more impressive than punishing the mistake is how H2K used that to steamroll the rest of the game. They played the map, they got an advantage, and they took a win.
Yep.
And I just liked the way they played, like with unrelenting aggression, and then once they started snowballing, you saw how confident they got really here. Rio basically got cut out, but they basically, Kasing walks up because he had his advantage, by the way. He doesn't stay there, he roams mid. What I really liked about Kasing, at one point in the game, he will literally just throw his lantern backwards and start playing up forward. He's like, come on guys, come at me, come and hit me. And nobody came because Elements were so far back. But at the same time, H2K, they never overreached, you saw that fight that was just on your screen. Back and forward every time, golden engage, walk back, Elements try to reach for something, H2K denies it, they jump back in, they get a kill, and slowly but surely they took that game and they just, grabbed hold of it.
Yep, they drove it home, and because of that loss for Elements, Unicorns of Love later in the day was able to tie for 3rd place after they beat Rocket. And very impressive performance by the Unicorns of Love, and Rocket dropping the ball, maybe even starting in picks and bans.
Yeah, I really think so. The team composition that Unicorns put together was really strong, Krepo. You were talking about this yesterday and earlier today, but I'm more surprised about how dominant Unicorns were in this matchup. There's so much expectation on Rocket that they're simply not living up to. And Unicorns of Love, everyone's like, they've got unique picks, they've got these oddball champions. They're not using them. They're using standard meta picks, and they are winning off the back of really strong performances and really strong decision-making in game.
I'd almost argue that the draft was somewhat okay, but they should have just lane swapped. I don't know why they chose for those lane. Mao kind of lane swap is great. Your Kog'Maw Thresh lane is going to suffer if you play against Morgana and Caitlyn, especially when Morgana's on healer side. One of these better supports that he plays. He plays main Thresh, so he knows the matchup in and out, and then he has one of the, not really counters, but say it is a soft counter, one of his main champions in there as well, with the range advantage from the Caitlyn, and they play that, so you all play that perfectly, Neil. Aggressive pushing lanes, literally just diving in between, transitioning it into a poke siege comp, and they closed that game out so clean, there was nearly nothing Rocket could do.
Yeah, and the thing that's the most interesting is the teams we've talked about, H2K, Rocket, Unicorns of Love, they were all sort of in the running for the top 6, top 7 position, with H2K actually probably being towards the bottom of those expectations. But after 4 weeks of games, it's Rocket that are now falling down, and Unicorns and H2K, at least in my mind, that are gaining the expectation because they simply seem to be growing and adapting to the stage.
I want to see how Kasing evolves, though. He had a really good one game, but it may have been just a fluke. well, or a good fluke, the anti-fluke really. So I want to see how he does better in the next coming games. But I have faith. He seems to be a good support player.
We will see. And above all is SK still reigning solo at the top of the table with their fantastic win streak. 7-0 now. If they win today, that means they even out Alliance's winning streak of last year. And if they win versus Fnatic next week, Thursday, in that match, then they are on par with Fnatic's winning streak of the Spring Split of 2013 with 9 wins. And for them, yesterday we saw again, it was Fox this time who got to step up and carry the game.
Yeah, the thing that was great about that particular performance is Forgiven for the first time has been controlled. I think that's the term I'm going to use because he struggled in lane up against Freeze and that Kalista. But more importantly is, as a unit, SK have got multiple carries. We know Freddy can carry, we know Sven can carry, we know Forgiven can carry, and Fox, you can see him, he's just melted people yesterday. He really, really stepped up and shone without the assistance of his team.
I think the Forgiven rated bot lane actually dealt well with the pressure, because in my mind, even though apparently both Freeze and Forgiven disagree, I think Annie Kalista should win that bot lane really hard. And so I'm happy that they dealt well with the pressure, because a lot of people, when you play with Forgiven, he tends to get a little unhappy when a lot of people come for what they call the bot lane party. You know, he really likes just playing 2v2. So that's one strategy, hashtag just tilt him. Just keep going bottom, over and over and over. But he seemed to deal well with the pressure. I think he died only once and Rated stayed alive, and Rated ended up like 3-0-4 at one point. So didn't really do all too much for them, and yeah, you can try and keep one part of SK down, but the rest will just win.
The thing that really stands out as well is you actually asked Ray today in the interview, what is he feeling? And there was a fairly down-to-earth response. It's in the back of our minds, but we're just playing game by game, and you never know what's going to take him off that #1 peg. They are exceeding expectations and performing fantastically.
And all the interviews actually not resting on their laurels, just calm and collected into that next game. And for all the stats, facts, figures, and analysis, you could, and whatever you would want, point your browser to @LLesports.com. You can track fantasy leaders, look back at past performances, and much, much more. Now, throughout today's games, we want to hear from you. So hop on Twitter and give a shout out to our guest on the desk this week. Whether you're looking for tips on your Thresh play or want to know what it's like to be behind the analyst desk, tweet your questions at LL Esports and use that hashtag AskCrepo. And well, now we're on the topic of asking...
Hold on. I'm going to let you finish in a moment. You know, our boy here can answer great questions later, but I've actually got a hashtag AskCrepo question of my own. And Crepo, I know you're single. I know you're looking for love. Will you be my Valentine?
Of course I would, quick shot.
Oh. There you have it.
Quick shot with the Kanye interruption. Hi.
Kanye did it better. All right, let's get on with the show, boys.
We'll check back in with you guys at home later in the show and answer some of your tweets on air. Now, let's get down to business, real business, and look at today's first games. The first up is H2K versus Roccat. Then SK will take on Giants, and we'll end the week with MYM facing the Unicorns of Love. What games are you particularly looking forward to? Elements looking to bounce back versus Gambit could be a saucy one.
My eyes are on Elements and Roccat. I think I want to see how they handle their losses from yesterday, and if we can see some growth in the decision-making and in-game play.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with Chucks here. Like, the Elements Gambit matchup, I think both teams disappointed yesterday. So I want to see who comes out on top and how. I think it doesn't matter who wins or loses. I think the manner in which they do it is more important for the rest of the season.
All right, to dive into our first matchup, H2K versus Roccat. We're going to see how this one is. H2K, of course, flying high after that victory yesterday, but can they keep it going? Because Roccat has something to prove.
Yeah, and they've also got the Alliance curse from last summer split. Win everything one week, lose everything the next week, and back and forth. With their win yesterday against Elements, and seeing how shaky Roccat looked, they might be able to pick up another 2-0 week.
Let's start by taking a look at the lineup for H2K. Odowamne, Lulex, Ryu, Yarnan, Kissing, and their coach Prowley. I said a victory over Elements yesterday. The debut for Kissing, we already touched on it a little bit. What exactly did he bring? He was very nervous, and he said it was so nerve-wracking to be back on this stage, but if that's how you perform under nerves, that's pretty good.
I mean, it's likely that a player coming out of solo queue or a little break is going to resort to 2v2s. So what I really want Roccat to watch out for is not give the bot lane the camp uncontested, you know, or at least assume they will take it and then play accordingly. If they get a camp up on you level 1, play back in lane, if not match the camp and try to win, or lane swap. And that's what I want to see in this matchup for sure.
We'll see. They are up against Roccat. Let's take a look at their lineup on the red side for this one. Overpow, Jankos, Nukeduck, Woolite, Vander, and they are coached by Ducky. And you actually talked to Ducky yesterday. He was saying how they can't fall behind early, they don't fall behind early, but that was exactly the case versus the Unicorns of Love, who basically steamrolled them from start to end.
The thing with Roccat is they show that they are okay in the mid to late game, but they're always down on gold. They've got the same problem that SK had last summer, where their laning phase seldom goes the way that they want it to. And the thing about Roccat as well, they're just too passive. We really don't see them being very proactive. We don't see them trying to push the map, play the map aggressively. And that's a large part of why they are falling behind so early, so often. And I think they need to figure out how do they play a bit more aggressively, how do they take charge of a game.
One of those things could be the picks. When we talked to Woolite last week after their victory, he says, well, I don't always have to be on those late game hyper carries yet. They went for Kog'Maw again and betting on that, which might not be the style for him.
Yeah, I think it might actually be smart for them to pick, not necessarily an assassin, but something with playmaking potential on Nukeduck, have Jankos camp him, give something the likes of a Corki. On Woolite, you know, Corki can always tie the lane, if not push, allow Vander to roam even more, and they do snowball from the center of the map and then let that flow in either top lane. You know, you can help Overpower and he can carry, you can help your bot lane, they can carry, but Nukeduck's been struggling. Jankos, help your mid laner. Two-man roam squad comes out. I think that's a way for Roccat to go in this game.
We'll decide which route they decide to go as we hand it over to the casters. We'll hear from Nukeduck himself on H2K's last-minute mid-lane edition at the start of the Spring Split.
I think he lost his skill a bit. Like, you can still see in the way he plays like lane phase and the map overall really well, because he has been practicing a lot in Korea on the best team, so he knows how to play the lane phase and how to play the map. But he's like reactions and team fights when a lot of stuff is going on is not that good. So yeah, he has like some really strong points and some less strong points. From what I know, Rio actually communicated better than Fabiven did. We are in the same office with them, so we talk to them like on a daily basis. But overall, the team have been doing quite bad in LCS, but online they're playing really well, and Udamne, their top laner, is really good too, so there is no way we're taking that match lightly.